Hey PPL fans, Brandon here. Welcome back to some more PPL action. We're Season 5, Division 1, Week 2, weekly recap. Now, unfortunately this week I am by myself due to time zones and just different schedules. Me and Trog couldn't sit down at the same point this week to record together. So after chatting it out and doing different things, we decided that I was going to take it on this week. Fingers crossed that we're back together next week. A lot of people said that really good chemistry last week, and we did a really good job considering it's my first load of stuff doing any type of analytic type of stuff for any league. We did really well, but I suppose I might as well crack on. I'm by myself, so I'm going to be giving my thoughts. Trog did give me his notes, so I will be reading through them after I've gone through all of my stuff as well. So let's just get straight into this with the first match. We have Norwich Skitty versus West Coast Wingos, Don Fanatic versus Paulie Mac, and Jack getting the 1-0 victory over Paulie Mac. And this was a very good game, and again we said at the end of week 1 we were really looking forward to week 2 and how it come out. And there were some great battles this week and some surprising results. You're gonna but if you haven't seen any of the battles, like I said, there will be a link in the description to every coach in the PPL. They will link to my channel, all the Twitters, everything like that. So if you want to check everything out, definitely make sure you go subscribe to the coaches so you don't miss the battle. And definitely make sure you subscribe to the PPL channel if you're new around here so you don't miss out on any PPL action. But let's get back to this first match just with some notes. So straight away in the lead off, Jack basically said he had nothing to lead against Paulie. So he led with the Infernape and he over-predicted, and he thought that the Mesprit, which Paulie would just go straight for the U-turn thinking that the Infernape would outspeed. It went straight for a Psychic, and straight away the Infernape went down. A massive threat to Paulie's team, obviously having the Mega Sizzle. Infernape was down. Infernape was gone, and straight away, turn 1, Jack was down 5-6. Another thing I wanted to go on was, I've written different notes, was Jack's Goodra set. Jack went with a pretty offensive Goodra set and was just kept going on and on and on and on. And I just put Paulie struggled to deal with the oncoming attacks from Goodra. Goodra just kept doing, and it just kept doing. It was doing so much that it just, different Pokemon's health was just going down and down and down, and it just whittled Paulie down to the point where Kartana was able to do its job. As you can see from the screen, it got 3-0 kills from Kartana this week, and it was able in the battle to just come in and finish off exactly. I did think that Paul maybe should have brought in Garchomp sooner. Garchomp was the thing that forced Goodra out, so maybe if the Garchomp had come in sooner, maybe different aspects of the battle could have taken place. As you can see, Necrozma getting the kill and the death, Inferno dying straight away. Togekiss again not doing so great. Goodra with the oncoming attacks was able to get 2 kills. Gastrodon being a wall, and then Kartana come in and finished up. But again, they were both coming in off a loss after the first week, and Paulie was very unlucky. I think he lost 1-0 in the first week as well, and losing 1-0 in the second week. Paulie's got nothing to be upset about. Both these battles he has played very well. I put underneath the Garchomp, the Mega Sizzle dealt with Togekiss. I'm thinking maybe he didn't want to bring the Garchomp in because of Togekiss. Obviously Garchomp was able to take out the Togekiss with the Iron Head, but I think that Mega Sizzle would have done that job as well. Considering the Infernape was gone, I think definitely Mega Sizzle could have been used a lot more in the battle and used differently. And then my final note was a very good battle, close between them both, and they did both well. If I go on to Trog's notes that he's literally just put some bullet points for me to read out. He just put Necrozma, a real MVP, 57% equals 100%. I have no idea what that means, some of them. For Paulie, he just put, oh my god, go for Sword Stance. I think he's referring to the Mega Sizzle. He put that Necromance play in a sad face, and I finally got the Toxapex nickname. So different some things coming in from Trog there. I'm sure it will explain when he's back next week. But like I said, very good game from both of them. They both played well. It's Jack getting his first win of the season. I'm sure Paulie will bounce back next week even stronger. He's got nothing to be upset about. Both weeks he's played really well. It just hasn't gone his way in the final result. So So let's move on to the second battle, you guys. We have the Tampa Bay Luxrays against the Southampton Sneasels, and Monotui beating Jordinez. It wasn't Jordan this week, with a 2-0 victory. Obviously, Mono coming off the good win in the first week. It put him in 6th, but mid-table it was a really close battle, and it wasn't the best of starts for Jordan last week, finishing bottom after what happened. For this, I think it was Monopones, I can't remember his name, who played for Jordan instead. I can't remember the reason why. It was on Twitter. I remember looking at there's a reason why Jordan couldn't play, so he had to get a replacement. Swampert did really well in this match. As you can see, Swampert got a 3-0, and the set he went for was a Scarfed Adamant Earthquake, and it really dealt like he didn't have a ground resistance. It did so much work. Victini was just a threat throughout. Victini, I said, like, my first ever draft pick for any league. I've only ever done one league, funny enough. And my first ever draft pick was Victini because of how much of an absolute threat it is. VQ8 just ran through everything. Another thing we put, both me and Trog put this, why wasn't the Sylveon on Jordan's side Pixelate? We don't know. Unless it was just a miscommunication in the prep. But the Sylveon wasn't Pixelate and we didn't know why. I put good prep by Mono in terms of damage because he knew how much damage-wise would be able to take it down. Like for his Rodriguez's Shadow Balls, he knew if he did certain amount of certain Pokemon, he could come in with his Swamp and clear up. The Victini was just a threat, like I said. Glasgow did well, was there. Venusaur was just fat and did its job well with the Sludge Bombs getting the poisons. Hydreigon went down to the Dazzling Gleam. He did expect the Mega Sableye to have Dazzling Gleam, and it didn't come out till like the 4th or 5th turn, and it took out the Hydreigon straight away, but Mono did well to come back from that. Really hoping that Jordan bounces back from this. Like I'm hoping that he plays next week himself, and really, I always say it's like I said it as a joke beginning of it being a Portsmouth fan. If you guys don't know American, if you're any American either, but British football or soccer or whatever. My team Portsmouth is the arch rivals or our rivals of Southampton. So I said at the beginning, I hope Jordan loses a lot. So because I'm a Pompey fan, when I don't want that, I don't want to be biased. Jordan's a great guy, and it's just a team name at the end of the day. But I really I can't speak. I really do hope he bounces back for next week. But one thing I did like on the prep side is I loved the screams like Clay Kieran. I thought that was really good, and it did shake Mono at one point. He said in the battle it did shake him. The fact that the reflect really it crippled Swampert a little bit, but he didn't capitalize on the fact that the reflects were there. And I do have to admit, hacks on the Sludge Bombs, the fact that he got 2 poisons, and that if he didn't get the poison on the Kyurem would have been able to, I don't know actually, it might not have been able to. Maybe if I have to look back at it, it might not have been able to because of certain rolls, but it might have been able to out-roost pressure the Swampert's Earthquakes. I'm not sure. I think it depends on rolls massively. But the pressure just wasn't enough to be able to get rid of all the PP on Earthquake by Swampert. And it was a nice 2-0 win for Mono. So he goes 2-0. So definitely doing well coming off the season at 2-0. I said hoping Jordan bounces back. It was a good battle like every week. Every battle this week was a really good battle. And if you haven't watched any of them, links in the description to all the coaches. Definitely make sure you go and watch them. So let's move on to the third battle. We're steaming through these quickly today, obviously not having Trog here to give me... Oh, let me do his notes of what he said quickly there. Let me see if I can find them real quick. He's put Tampa Bay lightweights. I'm guessing this is a thing. Hey, nice job bringing EQ and Swampert is cool. That was literally his notes. And for Jordan, he just put, oh my god, get a ground resist, which is like what I said. He really needs to sort out his ground weakness. And what the fuck with no Pixelate. Again, I also picked up on that as well, that the Pixelate, maybe, like I said, that's probably just a miscommunication in the prep, but you never know, he might not have brought Pixelate for a reason, but it didn't play it out in this case. So, moving on to the third battle this week, we have Seattle Onyx baby Eric first at the end of last week, going up against Ruby Marrow, and the Cleveland Browns. Seattle Onyx versus Cleveland Brown, and Cleveland Bros getting the 4-0 victory, and once again Scolopede showing how much damage he can do. This battle was mix and match. We talked a little bit. I talked a little bit about it while we were going through notes and whatnot. And I just put in my notes. Scolopede again proves its power, getting the 4-1, the 4 kills. It was different. About I had to go back and watch the matches again when doing the notes. And I just put Delmice didn't do. He wasn't the perfect matchup against Sableye. So the Sableye, it was back and forth with anchor shots and different things, and just in the end Sableye was just a better option. It was back and forth for a little bit at the beginning, but then Eric, I don't know if he choked a little bit. He did a little bit. We said this is another note that Trog did, is that he did needless sacks against the Scolopede. He didn't need to go in. He could have gone into Weavile straight away and gone for the Ice Shard. If he would have been Life Orbed, it would have killed, and it would have dealt with Scolopede, and it probably could have been a different battle. He didn't need to lose his Blastoise like that, and like I said, he was lucky not to get 5-0'd simply because of the fact of the Scolopede missed a Mega Horn against the Raikou, I believe it missed, and the Raikou was able to take out the Scolopede. It would have been a 5-0 at that point. The Omastar was able to do nothing. The Weavile obviously come in, it did the Ice Shard, didn't do enough damage, it died. He tried to bring it back, Eric tried to bring it back with the Alakazam, but the Meloetta was able to deal with it accordingly. Not using Kingdra that much, obviously Mamoswine was able to come in and Earthquake away the Raikou after it took out Scolopede. Theraphon did its job, and Sableye was in and out during the battle, doing what it could. But obviously Eric with a massive win over the beginning, going first, obviously now 1-1. Ruby is now 2-0, which will move him up the table. But another great battle. Hoping Eric redoes his things. I know I've been talking to, seeing some things on Twitter. His mind's not been 100%, so hopefully his mindset next week will be a little bit better for his next opponent. I'm not sure. We'll get into who they're facing in a bit. But done well to Ruby for the 4-0, going strong, very strong into next week. He's the person to beat at the moment, I believe. But a very good battle. Let me go on to Trog's notes real quick once again. Let me find them. We have Seattle Onyx. Yeah, he put, why not Ditto counter Skolo Sweep? And that's a good point. I didn't realise that, I had to look through the draft, that Eric does actually have Ditto. So Ditto could have perfectly dealt with Scolopede, obviously bringing it in, and it would transform into Scolopede, 2 Scolopedes against each other, and it would have been a nice counter to it. Delmice did poop against Sableye, needed to spin earlier. If he did have rapid, I believe he did have rapid spin, he could have got rid of the hazards. And then another thing that I said was needless sacks to Scolopede. Like I said, the Blastoise didn't need to just be sacked off like that. He didn't have any notes for Ruby, unfortunately. But a very good match. Well done to Ruby for the 4-0 again. Hoping Eric's focus gets back in for next week. Hoping to bounce back after this 4-0. But let's move on to the next battle, which was Shardy Bayern Munich against Travesty. Well, it's actually Colton. I'm not sure why Trav couldn't play, but he got Colton in to help him out. And what we predicted, or we were hoping was happened. Shardy got beat 3-0, and it's really funny because he thinks he's all that and he's actually shit. But no, it was a really good battle, and certain plays come into aspect, and different things. My first note is just Shardy is bad. Shardy's bad. It's just a little joke. The Pursuit Crook was cool. Colton did really well with not revealing it against the Rotom. Because obviously then it come into massive play against the Raichu when it come in. Shardy was lucky enough to have the right amount of berry to get some HP back. But I thought having that was really cool. I just put Shardy with not liking Colton's plays, but still lost. Lol. There were some questionable plays throughout, like some switches and some different things, and the Z move against the Crook, where there were some Aerodactyl using the Z move against the Crocodile to take that out. Or no, it didn't take it out. The Crook took it out then with a second knockoff, but it took a lot of damage, and Rotom was able to obviously switch in and out on the Volt switches, and Crook was his backup for that. So that was very interesting. And I also just put risky using Memento. It's considering it's a stat reducing thing and it literally just takes out your Pokemon and all you have to do is switch out to get rid of those stats. That's massively risky by Shardy. I'm guessing he was expecting the Latias to stay in and like go for a Draco or something. That's just risky. I know. I just put after. Shardy played a risky game and it didn't pay off for him. He was down to the end. He was hoping on the Mega Charizard X and hoping that the Arcanine didn't have Bulldoze to slow him down, and the Arcanine had Bulldoze and was able to slow him down enough to take him out to Latias could get the kill, and then Terrakion comes in and just takes out the Irachi, and that was the game. I was going to say good prep by Trav, well played by Colton. I would talk more about Shardy, but he's trash and no one likes him, so it's really funny. But let's go to Trog's notes on the game. Let's see if we can find it. Bayern Munich. Can I finally say Shardy is bad? Yes, you can. I can't handle uncountably infinite layers of predictions with Aero. No idea what this means. Too many eggs on Zard basket when it wasn't 100% win con. I'm guessing that means that it was too much hope. Like I just said, there was too much lying on Zard for it when it wasn't 100% able to get the job done. And then he didn't have any notes on how Colton played and on how that played out. But well done. Obviously, we were talking last week how Trav lost the first week, and we were hoping that he was going to bounce back with the prep. And he got Colton in. I'm guessing that he was unable to do the battle. But he got Colton in, and Colton was able to get up the first win of the seasons for the Canberra 2 Cannons, and that's the first loss of the season for the Bayern Munich. So Shardy will be moving down the table after the first loss, and that win should move Trav up the table. Primarina did really well in this battle. I feel like even though it got 0-1, it was just a threat to him, and it did well. And the Tapu Fini hitting the Nature's Madness as well was pretty funny, considering Shardy said that would never happen, and it actually did. Raichu not coming through this week as much as possibly Shardy would have hoped for. But we'll just see. It's one of the best draft Pokemon for a reason. It will definitely not be the last time that we see Raichu do either poorly or really well in a league game. But with that said, let's move on to our next battle, which was the Toronto Star Raptors against Melbourne Victory Star. A 1-0 victory for Jolt. 2 winners after the first week, both getting a win in the first week. And my first note was this was my favourite match of the week. This was a really, really back and forth match, and it was really well. And in fact, it was a 1-0. It came down to the wire, and it was really good. Another battle also come down to the absolute, even closer wire than before. And literally, I got a little upset. It was my favourite battle, but it was just one misplay that gave Jolt the victory, and we'll get into that in a bit. So I just played each other well for most of the battle. It was just that last little bit that come into play. The natural gift grass, we think it was grass, except from the animation, we think it was grass on the Talonflame. I thought that was cool. It didn't get the kill, but I still thought that was pretty cool. Ninetales was amazing in this battle. As you can see, it went 3-1. The Sun was massively important in this match, and Electric Storm did really well in using it. Obviously, the Chloroform Victory Bell was able to come in and sweep. Obviously, the Heatran as well, being a fire type. Like I said, if you haven't seen this battle, definitely go through. Diggersby, obviously doing so much work last week. I feel like Storm did really well to control it and keep it under control this week. It wasn't the same set. It was last week. It was Adamant Life Orb. We believe it was Scarfed this week, so it was a different set. So Jolt mixing it up a bit to try and throw off the opponent, which is good. It's always good to mix things up. I just put Sun was awesome, and then I just put he choked and did the wrong play, and he lost the match because of it. And he knew the Drapion was Assault Vest, and he still did the wrong play. He didn't trust his instinct, which was that the Drapion was Assault Vest, and because he didn't trust his instinct, it actually cost him the game. And then the last bit was Acid Downpour. We were guessing that it was for the Tapu Bulu, and I'm guessing that the Thunder was the reason it was for Tapu Bulu. It was just like, okay, it's there. But the only other thing that is weak to poison, like Storm said, was his Silvally Fairy, which he wouldn't have brought against Jolt's team anyway, so it must have just been for the Tapu Bulu. But let's move on to Trog's notes on this game. For Jolt, he just put Acid Downpour, 2 question marks. I'm guessing that he was just talking about why it was there. Never seen a Headmore in the game would give number 1 position if he was doing power rankings. So he'd give Jolt power rankings number 1 if he was doing that. Interesting to say. I'd probably give it to Ruby at the moment, and I probably would put Jolt second because it was a very good game. And then for other Jack, he should have gotten more damage on Drapion. Summer's awesome, but add the win combat choked. And Bulo is GOAT. Bulo is massive. Obviously, coming into Woodhammers is just so difficult, and I feel Jolt dealt with it really well. Obviously with the Registeel, but it was able to give Jack and be able to scout his set, which was a really big thing. But in the end, it was a very close 1-0 win to Jolt. That makes him 2-0 for the season. Unfortunately, Jack picking up his first loss of these. Unfortunately, Jack picking up his first loss of the season, so going 1-1. But if you haven't seen that game, definitely make sure you go and watch it. Just like all the others, I've said that about 4 or 5 times. A very good match, my favourite match of the week. It was a 1-0 to Toronto Star Raptors against the Melbourne Victory Star. Right, now I'm talking so much. Moving on to the last match, we're getting through these massively quickly, is the Buffalo Bills McCarty versus the Maryland Terrapins in Under the Radar. And this match came down to the absolute wire, and Hacks could have changed it completely. Now, unfortunately, McCarty or Will was really unwell this week, so he had to get in Ethan to replace him. And I say Ethan did really well in this game. It was back and forth. They both played a really good game, but as you can see, the Specs Greninja on Radar's part was just a little bit too much in the end. I'm going to go off Trog's because I didn't have many notes for this one, so I went off Trog's a little bit. So his one, he just put Zydog, good boy. He liked the nickname that Will gave him to the Zydog, which was good boy. Nice job using Basculin Nerd. Fun fact, I don't know if we're going to release, the PPL are going to release any transfer, like a video explaining transfers, but after the second week, I believe Will did get rid of Basculin finally. After 2 weeks of using it and it doing absolutely nothing, Will's decided to finally get rid of using Basculin. And okay, but why not Sludge Wave? Because if I can never say it, it's the fucking Ultra Beast Nihiglo, or what, I can't say what it said. It had Sludge Bomb instead of Sludge Wave, and if it would have had Sludge Wave, Will would have won the battle via Sludge Wave being more damage. And the notes he had for Kelly were Agility Toss to Hibicute is Spook. I'm guessing he means the Mew Rock Polish, and then Baton Pass into Kieran Black was scary. Defensive checks and Niglahig weren't awesome. And also for Kelly, should have gone for the 6-0 Nerd. I'm not sure where the 6-0 possibly could have come in. But I'm guessing if it was there, I must have just missed it. But there was a possible 6-0, and then it ended up being a 1-0. But back and forth, I just literally put in the basic notes. Why not Sludge Wave? Greninja is a god, and this wasn't even Protean. This is Torrent Greninja, obviously, because Protein's banned. Basculin's finally gone. Will bounce back by not using that bloody thing. It's a back and forth, really good game. The hazards played a massive part. Ethan did really well to get up the, I think it was the rocks, and it kept willing away at Kieran Black and the Suicune, and even Fortress was able to do really well this game. It was a back and forth game. Mega Pinsir did well. Raichu was a threat in there. Vaporeon defensively did well, and I'm just gonna call him Lego. Lego was crucial, and it did literally come down to a Water Shuriken role, because if the Greninja would have only got 2 Water Shurikens in the final, like the literally last turn, if he would have got 2 instead of 3, a Sludge Bomb would have killed the Greninja and it would have been a 1-0 to Ethan/Will McCarty, and the Buffalo Bills instead of a 1-0 to Under the Radar. So it was a really close game. Zygarde 10% was just amazing with the 1,000 arrows. It's like Ethan said, it's so spammable and it did its job perfectly. It just did so much damage to the team. But Greninja was the difference maker with the Specs Dark Pulse, the Surf, the Warrior Shuriken. It just did so much damage, and it was just that little extra that was able to do it for Under the Radar, which puts him at 2-0, and unfortunately it puts McCarty and the Buffalo Bills at 0-2. So they were 10th before, and Terrapins were 7th, so different things are going to be happening there. And with that being said, let's move on to the league table, and it definitely, as you can see, movers up and movers down. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Southampton Sneasel staying at the bottom, unfortunately, after losing once again. But their next opponent, Norwich, Skitty, Jack. It's going to be very interesting because I always find it funny. We'll get to it into a minute. Buffalo Bills, obviously, with that play, he did move down from 10th to 11th. Certain people moving up, of course. Paulie Mack and the West Coast Wingos moving down to 10th with, obviously, the second loss. These 3 teams still looking for the first win. And this is where I find it quite amusing. Jack got his first win of the season and still moved down 1 place, simply because of differentials, because he was a minus 2. And Carolina Toucannons are -1. It means that even though Jack won his first game, he still moved down a place. But getting the first win is definitely crucial. They're off the mark now, and he's got a very shaken Southampton Sneasels team to go up against, so he's definitely not running to get the second win. But like I said, hopefully Jordan's mindset is a lot better for that match, and it should be a really good one. With the first win of the season for the Canberra Toucannons, that puts them up to 8th place with a really good win against Shardy, with the still -1 differential, but did really well in the game. And the only person that stayed the same apart from Jordan, who didn't move up and down, was the Maryland Terrapins, like we just said. Radar staying in 7th with that win. It evened it out. He's got 11-11. Or losing 1-0 and then winning 1-0, so he's dead on balance, right in the middle of the table. And then a down place from first is Baby Eric and the Seattle Onyxes, obviously losing their game, obviously having to deal with West Coast Wingos next week. So Paulie Mack's going to be looking for his first win against a team that's coming off a shaky defeat. And then Shardy moving down to 5th after losing to the Canberra Toucannons, facing Melbourne Victory Star, who won this week, of course, so that's going to be an interesting game. 4th and 3rd facing each other next week, so it's going to be fighting it out for the top. And then we have our top 3, the 3 teams that won all their games this week, or all their games so far. The Tampa Bay Lux Rays, the Toronto Star Raptors, and at the top, Cleveland Bros, obviously top because of differential, all getting 12 kills, of course, taking out, and it's just on differentials of deaths. We've got Cleveland Bros facing Tampa Bay Lux Rays, so one team will get their first loss, and one team will continue to go undefeated next week as first play 3rd. Toronto Raptors are going against Buffalo Bills, so that's very obviously Will hopefully feeling better soon, man. Hopefully comes back for his game, a strong game against Toronto Star Raptors. But we said Melbourne Victory Star playing Bayern Munich, 4th versus 5th. Seattle Onyx, like we said, Baby playing Paulie Mack. Maryland Terrapins playing Canberra Toucannons, so 7th versus 8th. Toucannons coming off against a good win against Shardy, and Radar doing a very close win against Will. We said Norwich Skitty against Southampton Sneasels at the bottom of the table. Both looking to properly kickstart their season, even though Jack got his win. It wasn't good enough to move him anywhere up the table. Actually moved him down, and then we've already talked about West Coast Wingos, Buffalo Bills, and Southampton Sneasels. So that is your weekly table after week 2 and everyone who is playing. So finally, ladies and gents, let's move on to our Golden Pokeball Award. And this took me an hour and a half to edit and sort out earlier because people in the spreadsheets haven't been sorting it the fuck out. So I had to sit and sort everything out. So if this is wrong, I apologise in advance. but it was a pain in the arse. So at the top, of course, it was obvious who was going to be at the top. Scolopede with 7 kills and 1 death so far this season with a +6 differential for the Cleveland Bros. Top of the league, top person. Scolopede is absolutely annihilating. And Greninja, doing some absolute finest work this week, was able to get a +5 differential for the Maryland Terrapins. Diggersby, even though it didn't do much this week, doing so well in the first week, is still in the 3rd position. Lando T, even though it wasn't appearance this week, keeps its space. Obviously, not appearing means it couldn't have died. With its 4 kills last week, was able to keep its place. Again, the same with Heliolisk. It didn't appear with it this week, but again, its 3 kills last week was able to do the work for Melbourne. Victory Star there in 5th position. Another one with 3 was Norwich, Skitty and Katana, able to sweep up in its game this week, putting it in the 6th place. 7th place, also with +3, was Swampert, doing the absolute finest for the Tampa Bay Luxrays this week. Also on a +3 differential was Thunderous Eye for the Toronto Star Raptors. 2 different mons in the Golden Pokeball Wars is good for 2nd place Toronto Star Raptors. And Paulie Max Garchomp with a 4 and 2 differential was a +2. I put both Garchomp and Victini in there. I know there's quite a few mons on +2, but I felt like these two, being both there for both matches and being quite big impacts on the matches, I thought they deserved to be in the 9th and 10th space for the West Coast Wingirls, and then Victini for the Tampa Bay Luxrays. But with that said, that is everything I need to talk about this week for Division 1 Season 5 weekly recap for the Week 2. I hope you guys have enjoyed. I need to go get a drink because my throat is dry as af. But like I said, if you're new around here, definitely make sure that you subscribe to the PPL channel, and definitely make sure you check out all the coaches down below, and make sure you check me out on Twitter, and my YouTube channel will be down in the description below. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you have, make sure you hit that like button. With that said, I will see you guys next time. Peace!